Welcome to the Group Dentistry Now show, the voice of the DSO industry. Join us as we talk with industry leaders about their challenges, successes, and the future of group dentistry. With over 200 episodes and listeners in over 100 countries, we're proud to be ranked the #1 DSO podcast. For the latest DSO news, analysis, and events, and to subscribe to our DSO weekly e-newsletter, visit groupdentistrynow.com. We hope you enjoyed today's show.
Hey, welcome everyone to the Group Dentistry Now show. I'm Bill Newman, and always thank you for joining us, whether it's watching us on YouTube or groupdentistrynow.com, or maybe you're listening in. We really appreciate it. And returning guests and a new guest here today. We're going to talk about understanding how AI is redefining the front office. And boy, we talk a lot about AI, and I think there is a little bit of AI overload. So we want to really kind of dig deep into, what AI solutions are available now, and maybe even define what front desk AI is, because gosh, it is pretty overwhelming. And, we talk about it a lot. And I can imagine for somebody like Phil Toe, who's the co-founder and president of the Smilist, you must be inundated with people trying to sell you AI. But good to see you, Phil.
Good to be back. Excited to talk about our experiences and how we think about AI.
And for the first time, but if you've been to a DSO meeting recently, you have probably seen Eric Weeden, head of sales at TrueLark, speak, or at least you've seen him at one of the shows. I know I've seen you a couple of times, Eric. I think I saw you at DSO Tech Summit, Dykema, ADSO. So you've been really at a bunch of them, but head of sales at TrueLark, and it's great to have you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Bill. I'm excited about the conversation today.
Well, why don't we start with you, Eric, since you're new to the show, a little bit about your background, and can you talk a little bit about TrueLark?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Bill. So my background has always been in SaaS, software as a service, in emerging technologies. Personally, I've been with TrueLark for about 6 years. TrueLark is a AI first company that really was created to build a purpose-built AI platform for the dental industry. So my journey over the last 6 years has really been focused on helping dental practices and DSOs and variations of DSOs adopt AI to improve efficiency and elevate the patient experience. So very happy to participate today and share, TrueLark's vision and have a conversation with thought leaders like Phil and yourself.
Thanks, Eric. And so I've known Phil, I don't know, Phil, at least a decade now. It harkens back to your days at Henry Schein and meeting you in Melville. But we had you on probably a couple years back. It's got to be a couple years now.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be good for people to maybe get to know you a little bit, and then also talk a little bit about where the Smilist is now in 2025.
Yeah, no, a lot has happened since we've met, and even since the last time I was on the show. So Smilist, a bit about the Smilist. We started in our first practice was in 2014, and so we're just about 11 years old now. And since then, we've grown from, we started on Long Island, New York, where we bought our first practice, to now we are across 7 states, from Delaware up to Massachusetts. And we have 115 locations. So we've kind of grown a lot, primarily kind of through acquisition. And so with a lot of growth, comes with, our model is really to integrate and how do we leverage technology. And so that's why, I'm excited to kind of speak here, because when we talk about AI, I think probably oftentimes people think it's about kind of diagnostic, AI, but really kind of AI has lots of different applications, and we've been able to use it in different areas and helping us to make our rapid growth sustainable as well as scalable. So very excited.
And your practices the practice profile is pretty unique, I would say. You have some larger practices. What would you say if you had to guess the average operatories count is?
I would say probably a little over 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will be. So we have as large as, I think we have some that are, over 25. But the average is 12. So we do like a large format office. It allows us to, we talk frequently about how do we become the dental home for our patients. And so that a lot of that means like, how do we provide, the GP services as well as specialty services, as well as, the convenience of, whether it be parking, availability, online booking, things like that. So, so we tend to have a larger box than the typical average dental practice in the U.S.
Great. Thanks, Phil. Eric, why don't we kick things off? I talked a little bit about this with a little bit of AI overload in the industry. And I think maybe we get back to basics, and Phil touched on diagnostic AI, and that seemed to be the first thing AI that came into the dental industry. So a lot of times we think about solutions like that. Do you have a good definition for what front office AI is? And we'll start with just with the definition.
Yeah, I think in a real simple, clear, concise definition of it, front office AI through the lens of TrueLark is a virtual front desk managed by a AI control center that takes patient inquiries across multiple channels, and that's an important point, and schedules appointments and engages leads automatically. And when I talk about scheduling appointments and engaging leads, I'm not talking about task awareness, but task completion. And so that's another a main point that I'd like to make. All while the outcomes are freeing up staff for patient care with improving efficiency and revenue, all while delivering a fantastic patient experience. So that's really what we're getting at when we talk about patient or AI for the front office.
And Phil, would you say a lot of your peers, a lot of the DSO leaders out there, do they have an understanding of what front desk AI is?
I think they're learning about it very quickly. I would say probably a common theme across kind of all DSOs, doesn't matter where you are in the country. It's very difficult to staff, right? To staff and train, the front desk staff. And so as a result, I think many of us are forced to, look for and explore and implement new technologies that kind of can help address that. It could be, a call center. That's probably, fairly common, particularly as you get to a certain size. But I think there's a lot of kind of AI technologies out there, like TrueLark, that are getting, a lot more kind of airtime with DSOs, on how to, do all the front desk operations that aren't being done, because there's just not enough, staff to be hired.
So Phil, from an impact standpoint, you've got the impact for the front desk staff. So there's that impact. And of course, I guess for the staff in general, there's also your impact, right, at the DSO. And then, of course, the patient impact. Can you talk a little bit about how that's been working with TrueLark and in implementing front desk AI or front office AI?
So we've been working with TrueLark for, I don't know, maybe like 3 years now. And it stemmed from exactly what I said, the difficulty in terms of hiring staff. And, and as a result of that, many more phone calls kind of missed than we would like. There's kind of various industry kind of stats. And I would say we were kind of within that range of, let's say 25% to a third of calls that are being missed. That's a tremendous amount of, opportunity for the practice, but also kind of, I'll say, a failed, patient experience. And then, you're always going to get told some story of, oh, well, they called back and this and that, and ultimately we got them appointed. But, that's not the bar. The bar is, when somebody calls, we want to be able to pick up the phone and then be able to offer them an appointment. And so, we get kind of pitched all sorts of different solutions, and oh, well, they can, book online and this and that. But the reality is we want to be able to support patient interactions the way they want to interact with us. And that can be, over the phone. It could be online. It could be after hours. And so, in working with TrueLark, it really helped us to address those things. So it could be interacting via text. We're working with them recently in terms of, more of the AI voice kind of technologies. They're able to book online. And, because it's kind of text-based, can operate kind of any hour. Hey, I just remembered I need to go make my appointment at 11:30 last night. That we should not preclude them from interacting with us when it comes up. It's hard enough to kind of get patients to come to the dentist. Let's not put up additional barriers in which they can find ways to make an appointment.
From your perspective and maybe your staff's perspective, was there any hesitancy in implementing AI? I mean, did you get any pushback? What's that been like?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Everybody that says no, I think is lying. So I like to tell the story, and because it's sometimes you just get these unexpected results. So when we first implemented TrueLark, there was just there was some anxiety of, is AI going to replace whatever my job type of thing, and so we had to overcome that. But once we got people comfortable, and say, hey, we're piloting and kind of getting them used to actually using the software, we start getting feedback of, I guess the stat and the feedback were telling two different stories. So the stats were, wow, look at, we're now addressing many more missed calls. We were booking appointments, we were answering questions, and we saw that patients wanted to interact with us via text and kind of at, 24/7, around the clock. And so we were like, the stats are telling this wonderful story that we were doing a great job. And then, but the feedback from the offices were like, oh, this is like a terrible system. It's creating so much more work for us. And we're like, well, how is that possible? Because, look, we're seeing it's booking appointments, it's answering questions, and, we even have the volume of calls. And then the staff goes, well, I'm embarrassed to tell you, say this, but he goes, let's say in the past we got 10 missed phone calls. Maybe one or two would leave a voicemail. And then now I would call that one or two. But now TrueLark is addressing all 10 missed calls, and let's say makes an appointment for 5 of them. He goes, now there's 5 calls I need to make back, and so it's their call volume or kind of call back volume went from 1 to 5, and that's how they were feeling the impact of AI. Now they understood, and that's why they said, they were embarrassed to tell me the story, because they understood that was what's good for the patient and good for the practice. But it really kind of changed the dynamic on, how the office worked, because they were just so accustomed to, okay, I checked, the voicemail. I only got so many voicemails, and those are the ones I'm calling back. So when AI, or kind of, it doesn't have to be AI, any new technology gets implemented, I think it's very important to kind of go through, I think it's pretty standard. Everybody does the pilots, but to kind of be able to discover these kind of unintended consequences, both positive and negative, so that, so that you're able to roll it out and set the expectations and communicate it, more appropriately to the team, so that there's less anxiety and less fear on, what this technology is going to, impact them.
Yeah, there's definitely this fear factor. Go ahead, Eric. You're gonna probably agree.
Yeah, no, I was just going to chime in on that. When you think of one of the main challenges to implementing AI, and you think about, some of these stats that we hear out there about the high percentage of AI projects that aren't successful. To me, a lot of it boils down to exactly what Phil is talking about. What we're on this topic of is that, the challenge rarely is technical. Usually, it's not a technical blocker. There's an answer for that, but it's change management. It's a lack of buy-in at the staff or provider level, even when the leadership understands the value of TrueLark AI. But as a result, adoption can be very slow. It can get kind of torpedoed, as I like to say, because the providers just don't have the confidence in the system to feel like, it will adapt to maybe the way they do things. And sometimes there's fear that, might be replacing, their role or like diminishing their value. And on the flip side, when projects go really well, is when someone is there that is managing the project not only from a technical perspective, but one from change management. And that's one of the things that stood out when working with Phil at the Smilist, is that Phil, you really took it an extra mile. To communicate the why behind the project. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? What does good look like? Let's, look at it from an objective, data-driven perspective, but also not lose the qualitative, feel of it in terms of, what the staff impact is, what the patient impact is. And so as a result, while there aren't challenges in every, adoption of a new technology from change management, the Smilist did much better. And I credit Phil and his communication style and his group leadership that made it, more successful than others that I've seen out there.
Yeah, definitely. Change management's a huge challenge. Anything else, Eric, that you're seeing out there with other DSOs that you're working with beyond that, other challenges or different scenarios that you might run into?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things that stand out. The I would say that the every location is different. Everybody at least feels different, right? And so there's a lack of standardization. I mean, in some DSOs there's more standardization than not, but the fact of the matter is, you often have, five different PMS platforms out there, array of tech stacks, different ways of scheduling as a result. And what our approach at TrueLark is not to force everybody to go out and get standardized. We know that's not most is not going to happen. And so what we do is we take an approach where you don't need to standardize to be successful, but you need a system that can accommodate that variation. And so a lot of people out there don't really understand that that's even possible. And so they don't necessarily have an open mind that somebody could actually take their unique way of doing things and create a platform that can work around that. So I think that's one of the challenges out there. And that's just a matter of, kind of having an open mind, a growth mindset that, hey, while we do things differently, we can work with this team, work with this platform to configure it in such a way that it can actually provide value to us.
Yeah, and I actually want to build on that actually, because oftentimes, people view technology that they get a bad rap in the sense that, oh, it's this kind of cookie cutter and, it's McDonald's for everybody. But the reality of the way we think about it is, how can we provide more of a personalized service to the patient, leveraging technology, because they can, have almost like an infinite amount of customization, down to, it could be a patient, it could be a staff, it could be an office, and to deliver it 100% of the time. So going back to what I said earlier about, kind of shortage of staff, I think we all have stories in terms of, hey, I should have followed up with this patient and I didn't for X, Y, and Z reasons. But once you start leveraging technology, you're able to address 100% of, those needs. Now we have to spend time in terms of defining, hey, these are the rules, or kind of how we want to engage with the patient. But once you're able to do that, you're able to do it, constantly and touch like many more of the patients and making sure that they get the treatment that they need. And that is, very difficult to do when you're trying to hire staff, train staff, and then inevitably just, all the day-to-day requirements of working within an office consumes their time. And so so to me, it's the opposite, is how do you use technology to provide, a very customized service to 100% of all your patients. And an example I like to use is like if we were all to open up, Amazon in our browser now, it would look very different amongst, the three of us, right? And it's because it's understood like, hey, these are our purchasing patterns and what our preferences are, so that it gives us a customized experience. And to me, that's the power of technology and how it can be leveraged for the patient experience.
Eric, that really, thanks, Phil, because that actually ties into the question I had about a purpose-built or a purpose-driven AI platform. So TrueLark's a little bit different that way. You talked about cookie cutter, Phil. Talk a little bit, Eric, about TrueLark and how it's truly purpose-built.
Yeah, we got our start back in 2018, which compared to a lot of the players in the space is, many, many years ahead. And for a while, we're a little bit of the only ones out there doing what we do. And so by purpose-built AI model, our founders had PhD in machine learning. And so we went about creating our own model. We deployed it, to the world, and in the dental organizations that we've been working with, that model has been consuming data for years. So literally thousands and thousands of conversations across multiple channels, booking, thousands of appointments. And as a result, one, it's taught a lot about the various use cases that are most common that are coming into the model. It's allowed us to innovate and develop and configure some pretty unique things around that. And at the end of the day, really, what we're comparing it against is a generic bot, right? And the key differentiators there is the ability to handle real-time patient conversations to completion. So handle rate is something that we measure. Booking request conversion rate is something that we measure, and we maintain very high percentages across those measurements as a result of it being purpose-built. And so out of that, we are able to integrate into multiple PMSs, manage, a vast variety of scheduling, different types of scheduling, and scale across multiple locations. And again, we like to think of TrueLark as 1,000 configurations in a box. So, it's that ability to really configure to match each practice's workflow and support, nuances of decision making that really set a purpose-built AI model for dentistry aside from something that might just be leveraging a large LLM. Just kind of an example that we can identify with. Let's take a perio practice where you have a patient that's calling in. They're calling in looking for an appointment, and the AI in this scenario has the ability to, one, understand, okay, this is perio patient calling in. We're going to determine if they're new or existing. And AI has the versatility to ask if they're coming in with a referral, and if that referral is a doctor in the network. If it is a doctor in the referral network, the AI has the ability to traffic that conversation differently as opposed to if they're not. And so they might offer them priority scheduling. They might offer them, a little bit of a different conversation and different workflow as opposed to somebody that's calling in without a referral. So those are just little examples that you're going to get from a highly configurable, dedicated platform, to the dental industry.
So as we look at maybe the future of AI, Phil, are there a couple of things on your list that you're hoping that TrueLark implements? What are those couple of features that you might be interested in? Maybe TrueLark's already working on them.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think, is the future is right now, largely many of the systems kind of operate somewhat independently, right? Or maybe at best, kind of they connect to the PMS software. I think the future is more, where do they start connecting to more and more pieces of all the systems, that we have? And so I joke about how, AI normally is like, super smart because it knows everything. It's kind of read everything and incorporated into their models. But in a dental office, typically, front desk is actually smarter than AI because the front desk is able to navigate to all the different systems to get the information and the context to be able to, either schedule a patient or submit a claim and so forth. So to me, the future is one, how do you connect all these systems together so that whatever the purpose-built system is, they're able to leverage much more information to be able to enhance that patient engagement or patient interaction, or even internally within staff. And then I would say the second piece is right now, I think most systems are largely reactive, right? I missed a phone call, or I, whatever, I had, a service was provided and then I submit a claim. But I think a future is more about how can it be more proactive? How can an AI system anticipate a patient's need and be able to reach out? And so, it could be scheduling related. It says, oh, I noticed that, whatever, my wife and I are coming on different days, and it would be able to suggest that we can come in on the same day. Or it notices that I have, kids and the orthodontist is going to be in the office, and to proactively offer ortho consults. So if you could connect to all these different things, and then, once you're able to offer the appointment, you can also kind of be able to communicate and let them know, hey, here's the ortho benefits, that you have under your dental insurance. So being able to, again, earlier I mentioned about, doing it, at scale. So now imagine a much more personalized service. Earlier I also used the example of like opening up Amazon. So now you have these basically AI systems that are able to communicate, knowing kind of everything, and being able to not just know, but also be able to predict and anticipate what are your preferences and needs. And I think then it makes, going to the dentist much more pleasant of an experience.
We have an audience. It's a real mix, large DSOs, a lot of emerging groups out there as well. Phil, do you have any thoughts or suggestions for the leaders at these different groups as they're trying to evaluate, like I said, crowded marketplace, a lot of AI solutions, a lot of, front office AI solutions out there. They're not all the same. So how do you go about evaluating a solution like TrueLark that, is really built for that long haul? Because there are a lot of startups out there too. And so are they going to be around? Are they going to be solutions that are going to work for me as I scale up? What was your process really as you go evaluate not just front office AI, but technology in general?
Yeah, so many of the things that you said, I mean, certainly viability of the company is it certainly crosses our mind. And want to build on, a bit of what Eric said earlier. So generally speaking, I would say that, the technology is there, or whatever, if you have some unique requirements, they can generally be enhanced to whatever, to meet your needs. I think the piece that's not kind of focused on enough is both the change management as well as the, the customer service relationship aspect of it, because oftentimes, just as I said, the front desk is stretched. I would say in general, any practice or a DSO, they're going to be stretched for resources. And anytime you're implementing kind of big technology products, it requires a lot of people to be engaged, and we can't manufacture time out of nowhere. Generally speaking, I would say people are very busy and stretched, and so we will oftentimes lean on our partner to kind of assist us with that implementation. We certainly have to do our part to be the internal champion, but we need their engagement, and I'm not talking about, it's just like we're going to have a kickoff meeting and a weekly meeting, but how are they engaging with the staff? Can they relate with the staff? Or is it, hey, whatever, I'm this kind of brilliant engineer that I have no concept in terms of how dental office works and how to engage with that dental office and to speak their language. All of that stuff is important because, as Eric said, the change management component is a huge lift. And when we don't have partners that can assist with that and that we trust, because look, at the end of the day, if the offices kind of say to us like, hey, you guys are idiots. Like, why did you pick this partner? They're terrible. They don't understand the business. The solution doesn't work. Then that's egg on our face. And so we're kind of in this together. And so it's so important to really understand like, hey, not just, what is the Smilist process, but what is the TrueLark process, and the teams and the people underneath that they have to support that to deliver a successful implementation. We consider ourselves pretty tech forward, and we like to adopt technology and toy around with it to understand what works and what doesn't. So we've done a lot of these. And that's a lot of, our conclusion that we've come to. We weren't perfect at the beginning. I'll say we were wowed by the features and benefits, and we didn't focus enough on the team on their side and their ability to influence and motivate change on our side. And I think that's super important.
Well, I guess, Eric, I'll put you a little bit on the hot seat now. So in order to ensure that Phil doesn't have egg on his face, what are you doing really to, ensure that TrueLark really keeps up with these growing DSOs and can scale with them?
Yeah, I think it really falls into four cornerstones of a good platform and the platform that we've been working on. And it's going to be, one, configurable. So we'll continue to make sure that standardization is not something required for success, and that we have the ability to configure the platform in such a way that it can accommodate, various use cases, various nuances. Everybody schedules differently from one practice to another, different workflows. Second, I would say comprehensive, ensuring that the patient journey doesn't have to follow a single path. And that really gets back to our approach to being, multi-channel, multimodal. So we envision, a comprehensive platform where, a conversation may begin with outbound, communication that is initiated by AI that transfers from voice to text and back and forth. The other thing is automation. So just, again, not task awareness, but task completion. And so automating, the vast majority of conversations that come in across these different channels from A to Z, so that we can, again, buy back, time for staff so that they can focus on higher value activities and scale faster. And then I think the last one, and we were, talking about this at various points, is extensibility, which is often overlooked. And so we've architected a platform that is extensible, so that we're not pigeonholed into just meeting today's needs and use cases, but are able to extend the platform to take on new use cases as they come. And so the idea there is that we build once and scale fast. And so with new channels that have come on in recent years, like voice, layering that on top of text, with chat kind of being the glue between the two, without having to configure each one individually and distinctly. So I think those four areas: extensibility, automation, comprehensive, and configurable, are something that are always going to be on our mind, and that we're going to be pushing the platform to be on, the cutting edge in each of those categories.
So as we wrap up the podcast here, great conversation. Do you think it's a critical time to be looking at front office AI, or do you think, well, I can wait another year and, hopefully things will get better and different and easier and my staff will, be more accepting of this type of change? I'd love to get, your feedback, both of you. Maybe Phil, we start with you.
Yeah. So I totally agree that, if you waited, it would get whatever, bigger, better, faster. But at least our view on it is, like we say a lot internally, don't let kind of perfect stand in the way of good. And so we believe that there's a lot of value in learning how to adopt technology, to implement technology, and just to be kind of part of our DNA. And so we're constantly looking to try new things because we think it's not just the technology kind of getting better and faster, but it's we need to get better and faster as well, as an organization. And I can certainly see that to be the case over the last, 4 or 5 years as we've implemented new technologies within the organization. So I always think, the best time is today. And so for us, it's more around how do we prioritize and, making sure that we're implementing things that, have the most kind of benefit within the organization. But we do not have that wait and see approach because we want to get better at it. Because if you don't do it, we learn from doing. And if we don't do it, then we're just going to keep falling behind.
I think that's a great point. And, it's, if you wait for perfect, you'll be waiting next year and the year after. And so that's a great point. Eric, from your perspective, are we far enough along as an industry and you as an organization, and where the solution's developed enough where, this is something that can be used every day, and something that they'll see benefit with right away?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Phil. Perfection is the enemy of execution. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there now. You might look at it and say, well, we miss on average 300 conversations a month at a given, dental office. Maybe 67% of those will be scheduling related. Let's say that your handle rate today on those is 65%. Maybe in a year or two, that might be 70%, 75%. So yeah, you could wait and have a higher handle rate. But the reality is by waiting, you're still missing on average about 30 appointments that could be booked through AI, half of those being new patients, which we all understand LTV on 15, 20 new patients is considerable for any practice. So yeah, now's the time. The technology's there, and especially with recent kind of the economic environment, a lot of people are focused on same store growth, and AI has a lot to offer in being able to realize a healthy same store growth. And so I wouldn't, my advice would be don't delay. Pick a company that has built a platform that is extensible, that is configurable, that is comprehensive, and then get in there, work with them, and optimize the platform for your unique needs, and that's only going to continue to get better. But I think it's about diving in and creating those partnerships and taking what is good now and only taking it further to be excellent.
And I think the wait and see attitude is things aren't changing with recruitment and retention, right? So we have challenges when it comes to finding front office staff, free them up to do the ones that you have there, free them up to do the things that are really challenging, free them up to be with the patients that are there now, maybe to handle some of the insurance issues. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't think waiting is the right answer. And I think, we're at a point where AI is developed enough, and I think can really benefit DSOs today. So it was kind of, maybe I'll ask for final thoughts, and then if you wouldn't mind, how do they learn more about TrueLark, Eric, and contact information? And then Phil, for the audience, how do they get in touch with you? And how, if somebody is with an emerging group, maybe wants to partner up with Smilist, how do they learn more about Smilist? So Eric, maybe we start with you and finish with Phil.
Yes, certainly. If you're interested in exploring TrueLark, you can go to our website. It's simply www.truelark.com. There's plenty of information on there. If you're interested in a demo, you can click demo, and that'll route you to a calendar, and you can choose the time at your own convenience. If you're interested in reaching out to me personally, my email is very straightforward. It's eric@truelark.com. So feel free to, ask any question. Happy to help and see if we can't be of some value to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. And we'll drop your email address and website, the demo link, all that good stuff. We've got a couple of articles from TrueLark here as well on the groupdentistrynow.com websites. We'll link to those in the show notes. Phil, how do folks get in touch with you and learn more about the Smilist?
Yeah, you could reach me at, like Eric's, simple email, phil@thesmilist.com. And yeah, happy to kind of share our experiences, both kind of in terms of partnering up with the Smilist, as well as our experiences in implementing various technologies. My advice earlier is, do it today, do it now, because it really does change the economics of how a practice is run. And it's one of those things where you don't want to be left behind.
Great way to finish things off. Well, thank you both so much. And thank you everybody for listening in or watching us today. Until next time, this is the Group Dentistry Now Show.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast to stay up to date on the latest DSO news, insights, and events. Also, subscribe to our DSO weekly e-newsletter at groupdentistrynow.com.